started the company in 1968. I was originally doing both lighting equipment and sound equipment. I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I knew more than most other people did. So I did lighting control systems for some clubs, and did lighting control system for the Electric Factory, which at that time was the major venue. That's where, you know, everybody played in Philadelphia. Anyway, out of the Electric Factory, there evolved a sound company. I started doing some on-the-road engineering for them. Did a couple tours with Jefferson Airplane, did a couple of festivals. In doing that, I could see that the equipment, the speakers that we had to use were far from ideal. Like I said, there was no tour sound industry, so of course there were no tour sound speakers, and the closest thing were cinema speakers, because they were very efficient, made to project over long distances, however, not meant to be moved. I just had the idea that, you know, that I could make some better equipment than this. Fiberglass is an ideal material for making sort of mid-size and larger horns, or speaker cabinets, particularly where the volumes, the sales volumes are going to be relatively low. In other words, you can't invest a great amount of money in tooling because you're not going to sell enough of them to ever get it back. And the fiberglass tooling is relatively simple. In the beginning, got sort of laughed at by our competitors, JBL, Alltech. Of course, it wasn't too long before they all, you know, had fiberglass horns too. To an extent, we're sort of typecast. You're the outdoor guys. We're doing a fair bit of work to change that, and it is gradually changing.
The weather protection for the device is one thing. It's also the directionality of the product. I mean, inherently, these products are designed to have, you know, good directionality, which lends itself to those sorts of situations where you need crowd control, or you need to, you know, make it so there's a high intelligibility for people, for the voice forward applications like evacuation systems. But of course, that same kind of notion lends itself to musical applications where you want to make sure that the voice is heard in the mix. If the singer's voice gets lost, again, what's the point?
Always paid a lot of attention to mid-range, and mid-range efficiency, sensitivity, pattern control. I mean, those are some of the main things you need for installed sound. They knocked on our door, and at first we told them to go away, but they were persistent, and it's worked out extremely well. On sales and marketing front, they're certainly helping us a good bit in Europe. In Asia, we decided that we could share a sales manager, Kim Jurgensen. I mean, there's an example of something that worked out very well, and for either company it would be a bit of a stretch. For the two companies together, ideal.
We have certain understandings of our home markets that we can share with one another. Been no attempt to sort of take the distribution models and mash them and do anything. If it seems like it's the right thing to do, like mentioned in Asia, I mean, at this time we're using the same distributor in China, but that wasn't a fait accompli. That wasn't something we were just going to do. It just ended up being something that made sense.
Maybe 20 years ago, the company was having financial difficulty. There were some people that wanted to buy us, and buy us sort of like fire sale. I sort of entertained the idea for a while and finally just said no, and sort of backed it up with all the financial resources I had, which weren't all that much, but enough to satisfy the bank, and sort of go for broke, and it worked out.
Well, when I joined the company a little over 4 years ago, I spent some time in the demo room with people that knew the product line inside and out, and I said, explain it to me. And I found that as we went across the room and listened to the different products, they tended to, as long as they were explaining to me, I got it. As soon as they stopped, I wasn't sure anymore, because frankly, there was just too sort of disorganized. I said, my gosh, if it's this much of a challenge for me, and I've got a vested interest in this, what if I'm an integrator or a consultant or somebody who is being encouraged to learn the community line? You need to break this down. You need to simplify this. You need to somehow put it into buckets that people will get. So that was really what code was all about. So it became Community Outdoor Distributed Engineered. It makes it really easy for people to get to understand that we serve these three basic categories of application, and it also gives us an opportunity, because of the C, to talk a little bit about the story of community and the history of community.